So in today's video, I'll be showing you exactly how you can make this exact table. I'll give you the plans, the measurements, the type of wood I use, and all the joinery that I've used for this build. So first, let's start with getting the right type of wood and getting the legs done. Thanks, Future Mantas. And now, back to the reality where I actually have to build this thing. So the timber you see behind me is the timber that I'm going to be using to build this table. For anyone interested, I'm using cedar. Just because it's quite affordable. It's better than pine in terms of you can buy straight good lumber that smells great. Another reason why I'm using cedar is because I had a shit ton from work that was just left over that was going to be essentially trash. So I was like, well, let me use that as well. Now, I'm not going to lie, I'm not just using cedar. The one thing that I'm actually excited about is that this is going to be my first project ever using hardwood. And the hardwood I chose is white oak. It kind of matches cedar fairly well. Let's get everything cut down and then we'll start with building the base first. Just ripping down all the timber to its rough measurements and size. The bottom beam is going to be jointed by a mortise and tenon joint. Now this is the first time I'm ever doing this type of joint. So I've already done my male side of the joint. I guess the next thing to do is to cut out a tenon joint inside the 4x4s that are going to be upright. Cut out the holes for the upright so I can get these in. So let's get this joint done first. Try to record the process as much as I can. To mark out where I want the holes to be, I've pretty much built the frames on either side of the table first, a rough frame, and then used blocks as you see here to put down the piece, find the best side or the side that I want to be up, the side that I want to be down, mark the heights, and then obviously line them both together, use a square, draw the lines, and mark out exactly where the square is going to go. Okay, so now that I've got my holes marked out, it's time to try this bad boy and start drilling the holes. Bit of a time jump. I didn't unfortunately record me drilling out the holes. However, I am going to share how I did my half lap joints here. Best way I find to notch it out, so far I've been having good luck with it, is just tracing it rather than measuring. Obviously I've measured the center so I know where the center is, but yeah, just trace it around that way. Works best, and I'm going to do that on both sides evenly. So I'll just quickly share how I do my notches. I just essentially cross cut them on my table saw, making thin enough strips, 1/8 of an inch strips, so I can just break them off with my hand or hammer and then clean them up with a chisel. That's the way I find it the most effective. As you can see, most of the base for this table was literally done with half lap joints. It looks a bit weird initially, but once all of this is cut, it makes sense. And obviously, as I said before, I use a chisel to clean up the ends, and if really needed, I could sand it down as well in some areas where it needed to, but that's how it was looking. And finally, you get to see what it's starting to look like. So a few things I did miss out on the recording was the beveled ends. I did that so it didn't look as bulky, but you can see the ends here. So everything has been, so all the half lap joints have been done. And now I'm just constructing it together to kind of see what it looks like once it's all built and if there's any adjustments that need to be made. Right, so this is how far we've gotten today. Just to sort of break it down. We had the mortise and tenon joint there, so that's been done. I'm not sure yet if I want to bevel the uprights or not. I'll decide later on once it's time to glue them up. I have beveled the bottoms just so it's not so bulky. And same with the top, so you saw videos of me notching it out, so those are the 3 notches that will go, these timbers will go across, and then the 2x6s will go here, okay, and then another small 2x6 will go in between here. Right, so now I'm gonna show you how I've decided to attach the bottom of the table, essentially like the base for the table, and the actual leg, so one of the legs, or obviously both. We're gonna do both legs today. So as you know, this is the bottom. This is where the bottom joist is, or whatever. I'm gonna call it the joist. I don't know what the official terminology is for it. And essentially, this needs to sit like that at the bottom. And so after a bunch of pondering, because initially I thought maybe I need to notch this out, maybe I need to make a mortise and tenon joint, but I'd thought of this once this was already cut out, so it was too late for mortise and tenon joint. The easiest, simplest solution, and the most effective one that I could come up with was just to make a deep enough hole so my 5-inch gear case could go in. So 2" of it is in this timber and 2" of it is, or 2.5, is in this timber. So essentially it would work like this. We would basically be making a T by screwing from the bottom. And simply, I'm just gonna use a bit of wood glue on the base, just so there is a bit more than just screws, although a GRK is plenty. But I'm gonna use wood glue anyway, and then I'm just gonna put these GRKs in. So the final product should look something like this. You can see it's damn near perfect. It's damn near perfect. There's maybe a 0.5 mil, maybe a 1 inch gap, but like not even. So I'm happy with it. Look at that. There is no gap in that bad boy. For anyone curious for what wood stain I'm going to be using, it's going to be an General Finishes Antique Oak wood stain that is water-based. So I know we've just skipped forward a little bit, meaning I skipped the staining process, but I thought it's not the most interesting thing to watch. I think the steps now is to do the glue up, at least for the places I have. The reason I want to do the glue up now is because in order to do the angle brackets, I kind of need this thing to be stable. Here's a quick time lapse of me actually gluing everything together. As you can see, I'm putting glue everywhere where timber joins with timber, and I'm attaching the top long joist, obviously with glue as well in the half lap, but also putting 2 GRKs from the top down, because obviously a tabletop is going to go over it, so you're not going to see those screws as well. So I just wanted to quickly share the headache I've been going through to create these braces here. Essentially, cut out a template out of OSB to the exact same size board, essentially, as to what my actual pieces are going to be, okay? And then I just put them against the table, clamp them, and then put them in the exact spots that I wanted it to. Then obviously trace a line on the ends and then cut that, and then cut those lines, and then I've put my template against. Yeah, so I had them against like this to work out, to make sure I'm still happy with how the angles look. And as long as the corners add up, which one of them still doesn't, so I'm still working it out, but this is how I'm doing it. I've got my top piece, which works out perfectly tight against both corners, so I can make 4 of these. And then the next headache will be to work out the bottom, but I think I'm onto something. So just wanted to give you a quick share of how I do it. Oh, and one more thing I forgot to mention is that I routed out all the ends with like a special router bit that just kind of makes a nice finish around the corners. Wanted to quickly share with you guys the distressed look I've chosen to go with. I'm not even going to sand the flat bit. Like, you can very lightly sand it. I've got a really high grit sandpaper, like 600, but I was doing it with 300 as well. And you essentially want to sand the just the edges, right? Where the original color of the wood is going to pop. Really loving the two sort of textured, two contrast colored look. So that's what I'm going to do with the rest of the table. I'm attaching the bottoms of the legs just simply by screwing it into the bottom from the face, as you can never see it, as it will be on the floor. So I'm doing a herringbone style tabletop. However, I'm not just doing a herringbone style that just goes, you know, in one straight line. I saw some videos online of like some people doing different patterns. For anyone interested to know how I did it, there was no measurements or anything. Essentially, what I did is I found the middle of my table, marked, obviously squared out the middle, so I know my middle point is there. Put my best looking board at the front, at an angle that I felt like was looking nice. So it's not a 45-degree angle, it's just an angle that I thought was like, okay, this is quite nice. Laid the first board down, and then what I've done is I've drawn the pencil lines there, put the next board up, pencil lines, next board, pencil lines, and so when I move all these boards off, I have a pattern drawn on the plywood, so then I can find the best matching boards next to one another, make the cuts on the side, just a rough cut, so then I can reuse them, because remember I ordered 9 boards and I think I'm actually going to be 1 board short, which is very frustrating, but that's fine. I can get the final board. The process now is really to glue them up. I was thinking maybe I'll screw them from the bottom just to hold them in place, but I don't know if that would be necessary. I'll see. I guess I'll start with the main board first. Well, I definitely didn't need any screws, that's for sure. The ones glue dried is settled very firmly. One thing I would recommend doing that I didn't, that I wish I did maybe, is domino join them. Just for extra firmness so it doesn't spring up to the top for whatever reason, but that much glue should hold it anyway. As you can see, because I had limited amount of clamps, I glued one board at a time, essentially, maybe sometimes two, put glue on the bottom, and then obviously when I'm joining the sides as well, I've put glue all around the sides, waited to cure, and then repeated the process until the whole tabletop was glued. I've now mitered all the corners. Now I know they look a bit off, but that's because it sinks slightly down because of I had to do a lot of planing and jointing, and it was still found out that jointing long boards, especially with a bench shop joiner, it's just, I don't know, maybe it's me. I didn't show a lot of the struggles of jointing these literally these four boards. I wish I would have done a different design, but I like the way this looks. Anyways, you've also probably just seen the B-roll of me using a biscuit jointer for the first time. So the biscuit joints are all cut. But anyways, the next step is obviously once I've got my biscuits in, is to put glue all over, stick it together, and then make sure the glue up is good, and then wait for it to dry. So we'll start doing that. Once the glue up was finished, the final thing was to sand it all down again with the final coat of sanding, and then run it with a router all the way around the table and then on the underside of the table so the edges are round. And then it was time to apply finish. So I used cherry wood stain to stain the tabletop with 2 coats of stain, and then I used Osmo clear hard wax oil to finish it, which I did 3 coats of. That is the finish I got with the Osmo hard wax oil. Frustratingly here, my microphone stopped working for whatever reason, so I'm just going to quickly explain what I'm explaining there, which is that you didn't see me record this again, but I did put down the final 2x6s, the long 2x6s on the side, and then the one that goes across it, and that's been just screwed down from the top, straight from the face down, obviously into the actual table legs. And that is the frame, that is the finished frame of the table. And the final thing here is that we're going to put the tabletop now, and the way I simply fixed it was from underneath using small hidden screws as far close inside the table as possible so you can't really see it or feel it. So that's what I chose to fix the tabletop. I know there was a few other options, but that's what I chose to do. And this is the final finish and the final table. I hope you guys enjoyed the build. If you have any questions, anything that I missed out, do let me know. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope it was useful. Any pointers or tips, do let me know as well. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Enjoy the B-roll of this table.